This is the Vibra 1 sheller running on mixed hickory varieties. I just have it set to like kind of an arbitrary, decent setting. And you can see it's definitely doing a job. It's definitely trying to do something it can't always, because it's not perfectly sized. It's not a single variety, and some of the varieties don't even crack that well. So we're just seeing what's happening. So this is what came through on the mixed variety, unsized Vibra 1 on hickories. We're still getting a lot of halves, and this moisture content is still low. I'd say that if we had a good cracking variety, which I'll try testing next, we could get really consistent halves. The blowing, I would say, was ineffective, so I just had to kind of slow down the blower, just so that it blew off a small amount of the shell. But once I pushed it up too hard, it started blowing kernel out because the kernel was lighter than the shell, or about the same weight as the shell. But this seems like a useful tool, in my opinion. It definitely did get more disconnection and separation between the kernel and the shell, which is essential for color sorting. Like, what would a color sorter do with this? It's just too stuck in there, and it wasn't sized well enough to have that work. But if we did have our nuts sized, like a single variety, like if we had Snack Shack, which I'll test next, single variety, we size them, they're all the same, we crack them, and we know that kernel thickness, then we can adjust the sheller to just the right size, which I wasn't able to do because we had mixed batch. So this kind of stuff just can't go through a color sorter. You can't separate shell from kernel in a color sorter because you can't choose whether that's shell or kernel because it's both. So that's what the sheller's for. I think this is adjusted pretty well. This is Snack Shack. And I hand cracked this with the juice, but my lineage cracker could. It's not up and running right now. I didn't soak these as long as I probably should have. Open this gap a little bit. See if that works better. So it's separating them regardless. There's no entangled shell and kernel now. And that's important. Even if we're not getting halves because I didn't soak these long enough, it's still something. It's still progress. There's very, very few entangled ones, and that one's broken off because it wasn't cracked at the right joint. We're getting some halves, some quarters. Definitely working the machine. And it's blowing off the fine material, which is actually important for an optical sorter, because we're trying to choose big pieces basically. Yeah, it just can't shoot off small pieces. Let it all go through. The pieces that come through in the end generally weren't shelled or weren't cracked enough for the sheller to work, and that's where thin shell characteristics really are important, and great cracking characteristics really are important, because in order to size the sizer just right, so that only kernels come through when they're separated from the shell, you need everything. Like the things that never crack in the sheller are just never going to come through. Like that wasn't cracked on the edge, so it was never going to come through. But this is optical sortable. What we saw at the beginning was not. Like the machine would just blow this off and consider it shell. That's important. That'd be considered shell. But the rest is all easily pick-outable and separatable. Again, this is Snack Shack. Snack Shack is one of the first trees that I know can be a functional shag bark in so many different ways, but kernel being one of them. Works in the Myers pecan cracker, works in the shellers. It works well. We just need the lineage cracker to get peak performance.